Hi again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of SupplySide Showcase, sponsored by Lightspeed. I'm Rick Kessler. With me, Chris Cieto we're from RVBusiness, and joining the two of us today is Earl B. Hunter Jr., the founder and president of Black Folks Camp 2. Earl, how you doing this afternoon? Thanks for joining us.
Hey, listen, I have never had a bad day in my life, Chris or Rick, and I've had some bad moments, but I feel fantastic. Life is fantastic. Life is good, and I look forward to how incredible tomorrow is going to be.
Well said, sir.
Excellent.
Well, we definitely want to talk to you about the latest goings on with Black Folks Camp 2. But before we do, I think we ought to probably touch on Hurricane Helene because you live, is it Brevard, North Carolina? Where do you
It's
live?
actually I live in Western North Carolina, in Brevard, North Carolina, near Brevard, North Carolina, which is in Western North Carolina. We're about 15, 20 miles from the Asheville Airport, and
Okay.
so as a company or as a residents that living in this area, it's been devastating, to be frank with you. It is worse than what folks had seen on television. Is the photos don't do it justice, mainly because we've as a company we're this is not our job to be on the ground with folks, actually caring for them and feeding them and in regards to music and things of that nature, bringing music to folks. But it's our duty as residents of this area who live here to do that for folks. And but what I tell folks is that being without power is one thing, water, food, gas, and some of the things that we experienced. It felt like Armageddon around here for about 4 or 5 days before the public even knew what was going on here in Western North Carolina. However, though, the greatest thing that I've seen, and most of all, is a lot of grief. There's a lot of grief amongst folks, particularly not even thinking that a hurricane or floods would actually happen in the mountains this devastating, this catastrophic, and things of that nature. So, we as a company, we promote unity in the outdoor community and beyond. And that word beyond is capitalized in everything we say because we promote unity beyond anything else. And it doesn't matter your race, your age, your gender, or your ability. And we have felt like this particular situation has tested our beyond. And I believe we're passing that test based on how we actually operate. So, but with all that being said, the folks here in Western North Carolina are resilient. There are people who have come here who have been very strategic in what they do, and they've been very good at what they do. A lot of folks, FEMA got a bad rap for some of the things that people have said and done, but I've seen these folks actually do a lot of work. And I've seen Red Cross do a lot of work. I've seen different charities, churches, individuals, companies. Folks have been all hands on deck right here in Western North Carolina, and we are Western North Carolina strong, my friend. So appreciate you for asking me.
Earl,
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Earl. One of the things that kind of struck me as I saw some of the images, and you and I talked last week, was that I think the initial coverage, because the hurricane initially hit Florida, that garnered a lot of the attention. Obviously, we're in an election year, and we saw some of the images and devastation with towns just being completely underwater,
Washed
rivers not
away.
even being
Yeah.
rivers. Yeah, lost town. What have been some of the unique challenges that respondents have faced going into that area in comparison to maybe other areas of the country?
Yeah. So I've actually had an opportunity, and I know this firsthand. I've had an opportunity to go down to the Floridas of the world for hurricanes, or Joplin, Missouri, when they had tornadoes and different spaces. So I've seen different kind of natural disasters and different terrains. This particular natural disaster was a little bit different for folks because we're in the mountains, and most folks do not operate in mountain towns. They don't understand, the side roads and the trails and things of that nature. And some folks have to be rescued via feet and foot rather than vehicle, or a lot of folks had to be rescued in regards to helicopters and things of that nature. And so the terrain itself caused folks to have a lot of issues because they don't know this part of the world. The second piece of it is there are a lot of folks that come to the mountains to get away and to really get away from people, to never see people again, right? They want to live in the mountains. They don't want to be, they want to be very secluded. And a lot of the roads in which folks use to get to those secluded areas were actually washed away. So the rescue, the folks, the first responders were not able to get to some folks just because of those roads being washed away. But the third thing is, I think that has caused this area to be a bit more catastrophic than others is the fact that some of the water, a lot of the water and the power and the phone systems have been really tough and not as quickly to get back going because of the terrain, right? But again,
right,
there are a lot of folks on the ground that are smarter than the three of us. These folks have come here. They've been resilient. They worked their way. I'm very proud of what the entities have done in this particular area. I've watched them do this work. I watched folks climb dangerous trees and put up power lines. We've been out there and seen all this stuff. We're not just hearing this. We were there. But like I said before, the greatest thing that I've seen in the last since September the 27th, which is almost 24 days, 25 days from where we are now, I've seen a lot of grief, right? I've seen a lot of grief of just people not understanding what has happened and then how to get back. And but again, as positive as we are as a company, but also as a person, I just know tomorrow's going to be better. I know that, and I know the next day is going to be better, and the next day. And so there's a lot of positive have come out of this, right? So I'm really excited about that part.
Earl, would you mind taking us back to that day when the hurricane came through? I mean, were you at home? I mean, what was your situation?
Yeah, so I was at home, and I live in an area, I live in an area that's surrounded around trees everywhere, right? And so I got to be frank with you. The first day on that Thursday when I heard the winds and the waters, I honestly went outside the next day and thought, oh man, this is cool, some good rain, it's great, whatever. It was on that Friday though, Friday night when things started to go unravel, where the winds are heavy. You can hear the trees falling and sounding like bombs while they're falling. Even the ones that were falling slow, you can hear the crackling of the forest. The woods was out of control. But what I saw more than anything was the water. The water had just gone out of control, right? And where we live, we live in an area that has one of the only rivers that flow north, which is the French Broad River, right? And so because of that, that water is in the rain that had been raining all week. It just made the soil so soft that the trees, when they fell, a lot of them just uprooted themselves. I mean, large trees, right? But the thing that I think that drove all of us wild is that when we found out, and we were dealing with this for about 3 or 4 days, and nobody knew what we were dealing with because we had no phone service, we had no power, and that became no water. There became long gas lines, fuel lines, people waiting in lines to get fuel. We saw cars on the roads that were out of fuel. It was almost like Armageddon. It was one of those deals where it's something out of a movie, to be frank with you. And so that's why I think, after the fourth day is when the public really understood what we were dealing with here in Western North Carolina, and it became a shock to everyone. And to be frank with you, it was terrifying for a lot of folks, right? Particularly a lot of folks who weren't prepared for such. And I don't even know how you get prepared for such, to be frank with you.
right.
At Lightspeed, we know running a successful RV dealership is all about the journey, for your customers and for your business. With our all-in-one dealer management solution, you can streamline operations, track every sale, and keep your customers on the road. Lightspeed, the road to success starts here. Visit lightspeeddms.com to request a demo today.
What can we do to help? What can any of us do to help?
Well, I think one of the things, we've had so many people reach out to us about helping and things of that nature. I think a lot of folks have done a lot. I think everybody has done a bunch and done a lot. What happens though is that most of the time when you have a catastrophe like this, folks come in, they do a lot of work, they help, they get people going, and then they leave, right? Because they have to go back to where they live, have to go back to what they're doing, And I think that is fine. I think one of the things that people can do, particularly in areas that are starting to open back up for business, is come spend your money. right? Come here to give us some economic stimulation, right? As a company here, located here in Brevard, North Carolina, I'm all about revenue. And we want to drive revenue for the folks here in Western North Carolina. We are a company here. Most of our revenue is made outside of Western North Carolina. However, though, as a company, we believe in making sure that other companies in our area, other entities in our area are fueled by revenue, because that is the only thing that's going to keep them going through the times of grief. We're working on projects where we, as a company, we've decided that we're going to hire food trucks. That we've been doing that for the last, we've done it 6-7 times now. We've hired food trucks to feed folks hot food, because we believe food trucks need to get back in business. That is a hot thing here in this particular area, food trucks. So we wanted to get them back in business. The second thing that we did as a company, we hired musicians to come in and play in those particular areas where the food trucks are actually distributing food. And so that, that we feel like we're feeding two birds with one stone by actually inviting and welcoming food trucks and paying these folks to come in and serve the folks. We're paying the musicians, but we're also feeding folks hot food in that particular space. And as the year goes along and as the months go along, there'll be less people perhaps in those lines to get food. But, again, it's really not about the food as much as it is about the fact that we believe in the campfire, literally and figuratively. And as a company, we believe in unity in the outdoor community and beyond. And that beyond word, again, is capitalized because we believe that what we've been doing on the ground throughout our community, which is not our job, it's not what we do. We believe it's the most important thing to do is to bring some joy and some hope to some folk that may be hopeless. And so, the greatest thing that most folks can do is pray for us, to be frank with you. I think there are some monetary needs in a lot of spaces. I just don't know how to calculate that. That's not really my job to do that. However, though, folks are gonna need some hope. And they're gonna need some hope. They also, there's gonna be some grief counseling that's needed. But more than anything, what folks need to know is that folks care about them and love them, and they have not left them. That is important.
That's a great update, Earl. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think, as Rick asked, what can we do? People, and I remember you posting this on LinkedIn, is people want to give, they want to help out. And when the infrastructure is kind of washed away, it's not a matter of the stuff and getting it. There's plenty of the stuff, but it's a matter of how does it get distributed?
Right.
The logistics part of it and the community part, which you mentioned, bringing people together, food and music, two great things to bring people together and give them some hope. Give us an update. You just shared some of the things that Black Folks Camp 2 has been doing recently. What are some of the things you just celebrated 5 years as an organization?
Yeah.
Give us an update on 2024. What's been happening maybe outside of the last 30 days that you could share with the industry?
Well, we as a company, first of all, thank you for acknowledging that. We've been in business for 5 years, and most folks, when I shared our business model with them in 2019, many folks thought that we didn't know what we were talking about. Many folks thought we had to be a nonprofit to do the work that we do. And we just don't believe you have to be a nonprofit to do this work. As a matter of fact, we believe that we do it better when we're not a nonprofit, because we're talking to entities that, are businesses, and we are business. We are a business. We like to drive revenue. We believe that particularly with the work that we do to create more unity in the outdoor community and beyond, to invite and welcome more folks into the outdoor space and the outdoor industry is very, very important. And we believe that runs through a revenue space. We believe that folks need to understand that this is not a kumbaya. This is an ROI. And ROI for most folks mean return on investment. But for us, it means also return on inclusion. There's a huge return on inclusion. We coined that word, a return on inclusion. There's a huge return on that because, as a company, we've said since 2019 that the outdoor industry needs to find a new customer. The customer that they have right now, particularly in the outdoor industry right now, are baby boomers. And so the baby boomers are aging out of the space. We're not saying forget about the baby boomers. We're saying there should be a great transfer. There needs to be a huge transfer of love of the outdoors to, we believe, with the Gen Zs. We think those folks need to understand that the outdoors is for them. we need to make sure that they know that the industry is for them, and we need baby boomers to know that, look, you've been doing an amazing job taking care of the outdoors. You've done an incredible job driving the business in the outdoors. However, though, if you want to preserve the industry and preserve the lifestyle, it is time to transfer the love that you have and perhaps the revenue as well to folks who actually can carry on the legacy, because we all have an expiration date, right? And just so happen that baby boomers' expiration dates may come sooner than others, right? And this is not a squall or crack at the baby boomer generation, but that's data. That's true, right? And so if we're going to really say that we want to see more folks in the outdoors, we have to start inviting and welcoming them. And that's what we've been doing for the last 5 years. Our job has been speaking to B2B. Our job has been speaking to the industry first before we start to the consumer. We needed the industry to understand the why these folks, particular group of folks, weren't coming into the outdoors, and then how do we get them to be sustainable? The pillars of our company is very, very, very simple. If it's not sincere, if it's not meaningful, if it can't be measured, then we know it won't be sustainable. And so, we've been working with state park entities, RV entities, outdoor retailers. All of these folks are around the one thing that makes it amazing, which is what we call the campground. Our logo is the Unity Blaze. And it means that you're invited and you're welcome. And it doesn't matter your race, your age, your gender, or your ability. One thing is, folks get stuck on that word black, and black folks can't too. And what we realize in America is most folks can't read very well, right? And it's a lot of the folks that can't read very well, the folks in our industry. They don't know what the word "to" means, right? They don't know the word "to" means also and as well. We don't exclude anyone. We don't exclude anyone at all. We include everyone, right? And so we think we're the most delightful company in the world, to be frank with you.
That's fantastic, Earl. As far as the two-part, and you mentioned the invitation, can you give us an invitation of what campers can experience in your area, in your neck of the woods, to come visit, come camp in Northwestern Carolina, what they'll experience, and help provide some of that stimulus you talked about?
Western Carolina is the most beautiful place on earth, all right? And the reason why it's so beautiful is because it's mostly green for the most part. We have, where we live, particularly in the area where I live, we have 250 waterfalls in a 2-mile radius, right? We have hundreds of trails everywhere. We have mountaintops, peaks, rivers, fly fishing. We have everything in this area that an outdoors person would love, right? What we don't have in this area is a lot of diversity. And we don't have a lot of diversity in regard to race, age, gender, and ability. However, though, I believe that Western Carolina, as we rebuild, as we refocus, as we rethink the way we do things here, one of the biggest focuses is to make sure not only is the outdoor industry prominent, but also making sure that the folks who live here understand that they are invited and welcome to go and enjoy our public lands as well. Because at the end of the day, we all pay for public lands through our tax dollars. And many of us, particularly folks of color, don't even know these public lands actually exist. And so as we rebuild to get more folks loving on the outdoors, we don't want to skim over the fact that our job also is to make sure that folks who have generational fear, who have a lack of knowledge, and who have never really been invited and welcomed into the outdoor space, we want to make sure those folks know that they're welcome. And there are a lot of companies out there that are part of our Unity Blaze mission. They are dead stopped on making sure that everyone, and I mean everyone, is invited and welcome into the outdoor space, period.
Earl, one of the questions I have for you is, you mentioned you've been doing the B2B for up to this point, and you're about ready to shift over to the B2C, which is great. But still on the B2B side, what can campground operators do? What can the RV industry do to get more involved with not only your organization, but also with what they can just simply do to be more inclusive?
Well, we've said this for all along. We believe that unity is the way. And if you don't, the greatest thing that B2B, the greatest thing that campgrounds, the greatest thing that the $1.1 trillion outdoor industry can do is to learn the why folks have not been in the outdoors. Once you understand the why, you can get to the what, when, where, and how. What we found in the last 5 years, I keynoted around this country 217 times to some of the largest audiences and to some of the smallest. And what I found based on doing this is that the folks who run the industry, the folks who really drive the industry, they don't even know why most folks don't go in the industry. They don't understand why most folks don't work in the industry. Why most folks, a lot of folks don't actually go into the lifestyle. Why you have a disparity of youth, disparity of race, disparity of these spaces. They don't even understand why. They don't know why. Because when you don't know the why, you can't get to the what, when, where, and how. And so if there's one thing that I would say to our industry, what needs to happen, they need to get educated. They need to get educated and not on opinions. You know, we as a company, we've almost spent almost $1 million in the last 5 years on data. We're a data-driven company, and we don't even care about folks' opinions. When you give me your opinions in regards to how the outdoor industry is or how to invite and welcome different demographics into the outdoor industry, I don't even listen to your opinions because we don't care about your opinions. All we care about is data and facts. And what we know is, based on these conversations that we've had with some of the largest companies in the world to some of the smallest companies in the world, they've been operating on opinions. And opinions do not drive the business. Opinions do not drive the market. And also, folks have been operating on the fact that they've been operating the same way for 20 and 30 years. Well, the jig is up, to be frank with you. The jig is up because those customers who you've been catering to for the last 20 and 30 years, they're probably not your customers much anymore. And a lot of campgrounds, the industry is seeing that right now based on the numbers, based on where we are right now in regards to our sales and marketing space. You have to change the way you do things if you want to see a change. You cannot continue to do the same things over and over again. So we believe you have to get educated. And once you get educated, what's wrong with inviting and welcoming any and everyone? What's wrong with promoting unity in the outdoor community and beyond? As a matter of fact, we don't understand why more folks won't partner with us because we promote unity in the outdoor community and beyond. Is it because our name is Black Folks Camp Too? Or is it because you don't understand that you have to go out and get a new customer? And they don't necessarily have to be Black. You got to go find new customers, period, right?
I know another data-driven company is Campgrounds of America, KOA, and for, I don't know, at least 5 years, if not 10 years, they have been doing their North American Camper Report, and every year the number of minority demographics coming up through and adopting the camping lifestyle has been growing and growing every year over year. Yep. It's always a double-digit % growth. And you're exactly right. It's not just the race that makes up that number. It's all different demographic categories.
I think we have to be real careful too in regards to how we use the data and numbers as well. I'm gonna tell you why. Because hey, look, the last 3 years ago, particularly when COVID was happening or when Mr. Floyd was killed, you know, Black folks and people of color, because they had nowhere else to go, they went into the outdoors. But the data also says that 70% of those folks don't go in the outdoors anymore. Right? This is why we have such a lull of folks going in the outdoors. I mean, it took a disease for folks to actually go in the outdoors. They weren't invited. They weren't welcome. No one put out a big advertising piece and said, "Hey, come on," on how you're supposed to do things. They did it. They came in the outdoors because they had nowhere else to go. And now that they're not going back anymore, it shows that it perhaps was sincere. It perhaps was meaningful. But was it measured? Because it sure wasn't sustainable. And what we're saying to the industry is you have to put together strategies to get different demographics into the space. It's no longer saying that, you know, we welcome everyone. You have to have strategies on how you actually speak to different demographics. Look, every person of color, particularly Black folks, they don't think the same. So you can't just market to these folks the same way. Just like white folks, they don't think the same. Everybody don't do the same things. So you have to be strategic in what you do. And I like being strategic in everything we do because as a small business, as a small company, we don't have the money or the time to make mistakes. We have to be very diligent with our money and our time, and we only spend our money and our time in spaces that actually make sense. Listen, man, I've been an executive for a long time, okay? I've been driving a business for a long time. It just so happened that I left the RV industry as an executive to start Black Folks Camp 2 because I knew 5 years ago that the outdoor industry would need a company like ours to help them understand the what, when, where, and how.
Very good. Very good. Chris, anything else, or should we let him off the hook here?
Well, early number of conversations on this topic, and one thing that no matter who you're talking about in the outdoors, the two parts really important, right? Because nobody likes going out and doing an activity that they have no knowledge base about, right? Nobody likes showing up and being dumb and not knowing how to set up their campsite, not knowing how to interact with other campies, not having your generator on at 1 a.m. or whatnot, not knowing how to, the food part,
Right.
I don't know, you're just doing PB&Js or whatever. Those are all the things that make camping more enjoyable. And nobody likes going out in any space for any activity. And one, not knowing anyone, and that's the invitation part. And number two, the knowledge part, not knowing what they're doing in that space. And if you're, even though people went out during the pandemic, part of the receding of those people going out is because they didn't know what they were doing. And so it wasn't an enjoyable experience for them.
Right. As a matter of fact, the data that we have, we took out thousands of folks in the last 4 years. That's why most folks thought we were a group. Most people would call us up and say, you guys are a great nonprofit. And we were like, we're not a nonprofit. Well, you guys are a great group. We're like, we're not a group. Or we have businesses and people that were trying to tell us who we were, and we were telling them who we're not. Well, we took folks out in the outdoors so we can get data. We took the single parents out. We took the 2-parent households. We took the Huxtables and the Good Times folks. We took sprinkled in some white folks, Hispanic folks, Asian folks, and everybody else. We took them RVing. We took them backpacking. We took them cabin camping, yurt camping, canoeing, kayaking. We did all those things, what makes people think that we were a group. But we did those things and took people out so we can get the data from them. We wanted to understand why they were not actually going into the outdoors, enjoying the outdoors. We took them out because we could not understand why some of the most athletic people in the world, which considered Black folks, were not actually trail running. Why we didn't see any person of color trail running in an area that has 400 or 500 trails, right? Why they weren't mountain biking? Well, once we figured out and found out what it was based on my personal experiences, we utilized the data and the facts. And once we got the data and the facts, what we also realized was those folks weren't spending their money in the outdoor space. And if they're not spending their money in the outdoor space, they're probably not doing outdoor activities. And because they're not doing outdoor activities, the outdoor industry is going to be in trouble because those are the emerging markets and the emerging demographics, right? And so because they are the emerging demographic, you have to focus on them. You have to focus on them in an amazing way. And if you do not know how to focus on those demographics, then voila, that's why our company was created. We were created to help you do something that you don't know how to do. And we do it in a sincere manner. We do it in a meaningful manner. We do it actually in a very, very measurable space. And we do it sustainably. But let me make sure also you understand this. We're at the toenail of the elephant. This is not going to change overnight. It wasn't created overnight. It's going to take some work. And folks who want to put work in, which we believe the B2B space, the outdoor industry, because they have the most to lose and the most to gain. The emerging markets, the emerging demographics, they don't really care if they go in the outdoors anyway. It is the industry that should care whether these folks go in the outdoors or not, because they are the ones who then will be the revenue drivers. They will love the outdoors. They'll be the ones to actually vote for public lands. All this is culminating in the fact that the B2B needs to know the why to make sure that they understand the what, when, where, and how to get these folks involved. This is not rocket science, right? This is not rocket science. This is business one-on-one. This is being a do-good company to drive revenue. This is understanding where you are and where you're going but more than anything, this is what we believe the greatest way to create more unity in the outdoor community and beyond, by inviting and welcoming people. So that is peace.
Can't say it any better than that. And I'm going to sign us off here before we run short on time. Earl, always a pleasure. Anybody who wants to reach out to Earl to discover that why, we'll leave that information down below in the description.
Well, let me say it to him as well. Listen, you can email us at info@blackfolkscamp2.com, info@blackfolkscamp2.com. And before you sign us off, Rick, I got to tell you one thing, brother. This is one thing I got to say to you. For all the folks on the sound of my voice, if you hear me, if you see me, you probably know, if you met me, you probably know I'm always the same way. I'm always jovial, excited about driving the business and actually creating more unity in the outdoor community and beyond. But here's what I want you to know. I want you guys to know that I hope you have the greatest day of your life today. And I hope tomorrow is better for you.
Thank you very much. Same to you.
Earl.
Right on.
We'll also leave information on how people can contribute to the hurricane relief efforts in not only North Carolina, but everywhere else that has been affected. Earl, always a pleasure, sir. Thank you.
Right on, my friend. Take care.
Earl.